Good evening, folks. What's good? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people, Middle Earth to another episode of Disguise Coverage, the only podcast in existence that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin, and sponsored by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. Hands down, One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or anyone of the podcasting apps or platforms. I'm your host of this show, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ANT. Find me on the TikTok under the exact same handle, pro 2_ANT. In tonight's episode, on the back end of this episode, diving into and detailing the potential game of the year in the NFL between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. In the back end, we are going to dive into some Bengals game tape and some Bills game tape to really highlight several of the game-specific matchups that will decide this game. Players, sides of the ball, position groupings, X's and O's, scheme, structure, all of those pieces that you have grown accustomed to here on this show. Or if it's your first time tuning into the show, you will grow accustomed to it. But on the front end of this show, we're going to dive into some conversation regarding several of the game deciding and most important matchups for Bills versus Bengals. And like the comment says here from Jason comes in and says, Bruce and Ant with an exclamation point. What a beautiful combo, exclamation point. And that's because I'm joined tonight by Mr. Bruce Nolan of the Bruce Exclusive, of Buffalo Rumblings, of Food for Thought, of probably a lot of other things. Bruce, I appreciate you taking the time. I was lucky that you and I were able to link up somewhat last minute. I appreciate you, and I always enjoy having you here. So welcome to the show, and thank you very much.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I know it was kind of a last minute deal, and I have a bone to pick with you before we get started. The questions that you sent me required me to actually work, and I don't know who I need to take this up with. Is the HR cover one I can talk to, or do I just go directly to Eric? I don't know how this works, but
you can. I'm the HR, so you can just email me and I'll take it up.
Cool. You'll take it up with yourself and make sure that yourself is feasibly punished.
Yeah, I'll reprimand
because you know, I really need you to hear that. I really need you to get through to yourself, because I got these and I was like, I need like 35 minutes to go through this stuff. Like I gotta go through. I went back to a couple Bengals games, took some quick notes. Like I'm watching Hakeem Adeniji. Like I'm sitting here watching him, and I'm going back to like college film. Like, what am I doing here? Like,
you really went down the rabbit hole.
Like, look what you made me do. It's a Taylor Swift moment.
Oh, nice Taylor Swift reference. Well done. Hashtag Ticketmaster. I appreciate you going down the rabbit hole. I'm sorry. Yeah. But that's also part of the reason why I would reach out to someone of your caliber or of your ilk, because I knew you wouldn't just half-ass it. You wouldn't just sloppily put some things together. You would do, the requisite work that is required of, really getting into the nitty-gritty of a matchup of this magnitude for the Buffalo Bills, for the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I mentioned, potential game of the year. But even if it's not, just the results of this game have a large-scale chain reaction, hashtag Keanu Reeves and hashtag Rachel Weisz?
Yes, Rachel Weisz.
Thank you very much. Nice. Large-scale chain reaction for the AFC in terms of seeding. It affects the Bengals in their own division race as they fight for the AFC North. It affects easily the top 3 seeds and potentially more, and then obviously how that, affects the matchups that we see come playoff time. But nonetheless, Bruce, I digress, because we want to be time efficient, because you and I have a penchant for not being time efficient.
No, we would never run long, Anthony. What are you talking about?
Never. I'm crazy. I'm also, I could be wrong. I couldn't remember who sang My Prerogative when you and I were chopping up before we went online. It's been a rough couple of 10 minutes, so I could be wrong. Could be slowly descending into madness. But Bruce, we'll try and stay on schedule. We're going to push forward. We're going to jump right into it in terms of talking about the Buffalo Bills versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're going to start with a matchup that is on a lot of people's minds for a lot of reasons. The Bengals have a tremendous weaponry group, especially if you're considering the weapons as a whole start going into the backfield. But even if we're just focusing on the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers, the combination of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, a tremendous trio, arguably the best trio in the NFL, one of the best, 1-2 tandems in the league with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's where a lot of the story for this game, especially when you talk about matchups, starts for the Bengals versus the Bills. And then on the other side, you've got a position grouping that has been a storyline for the last several weeks for the Buffalo Bills, especially for Buffalo Bills fans. Kaiir Elam is sitting, then he's active, but not really playing. And all the meanwhile, while he's sitting, Dane Jackson's in there, and I'm talking about it in a bit, but he's having some rather unfortunate, plays at the catch point, and it's just led to a lot of potential drama there, in addition to Trey White coming back from injury, working his way back. This matchup is primed to be in the spotlight for these two teams and potentially being a huge one that determines which way this game goes. So let's start there. Bills DBs versus the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers. Let's get your matchup thoughts here. Who has the advantage on paper, and what would you like to see from a Bills cornerback rotation in trying to combat what the Bengals wide receivers have?
I am the guy who was pounding the table for Kaiir Elam a couple weeks ago. I am the guy who went back and watched all the snaps and said, guys, I don't know. He looks like he's playing fine to me. I am here to tell you that I think it might be a Dane Jackson game. And the reason why I think it's a Dane Jackson game is I have a feeling this might be a zone-heavy game. Okay. And the reason why it might be a zone-heavy game is because you need to leverage those routes to get Burrow to hold the ball. Because you're not going to get him to hold the ball against man. If he sees a matchup he likes, he's going to go for it. It doesn't matter. No matter what your man corner is on their receiver, Burrow will throw it. It doesn't matter who it is. He will throw it. He has openly said, my guy's better than your guy. It is,
yeah,
right?
He's not wrong.
It's always true, right? T. Higgins is better than most corners in the NFL, and Jamar Chase is better than most corners in the NFL. So if you want to get Burrow to hold the ball, you're not going to do it by him passing up his first read in man coverage. He won't pass up his second read in man coverage. If there is single, heck, if there's single and a far enough away double, he will still pull the trigger. He will go, because Burrow has one of the best back shoulders in the NFL. We talk a lot about Aaron Rodgers and the back shoulder throw. Now that it's not Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams anymore, that mantle, I think, got passed. Joe Burrow's back shoulder throw is impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It is extremely impressive. And that's just not an option against meaningful zone coverage in a lot of cases. So I have a feeling it might be a zone-heavy game plan. And because it's a zone-heavy game plan, I think it might be a Dane Jackson game. The games that you've seen more Kaiir Elam have been more man games. Like when you watched his snaps against Detroit, it was almost entirely man coverage. When he got the run against Miami, it was, again, a lot of man coverage. And when you hear Sean McDermott say the phrases like, well, he's starting to understand the things that we want him to do, like conceptually, some of the things, like, it's pretty clear the answer as to why Kaiir Elam's not playing anymore. Like it wasn't clear before. And now I kind of feel like we have the sample size and we have the comments that we can kind of piece it all together and go, he's not where they want him to be in zone coverage. Right. Yeah. There's a lot, and which makes complete sense, mind you, is completely tracks.
Given what he did.
Given what his profile was coming out of Florida, would be someone that would take a minute to wrap his head around, got to be where I need to be in zone coverage. So given the fact that I think you might see a zone heavy game plan, I think this is a Dane Jackson game. So I would be shocked if it was 50-50.
Oh,
is that a hot take? I don't feel like that's a hot take, but
no, I would
be shocked if it was 50-50. I think it might be because you know how they like to do series. They'll go Dane series, Elam series, Dane series. They rotate. The Bills rotate corners the way that the Browns rotate running backs. So the Browns go Chubb, Hunt, Chubb, Hunt, Chubb, Hunt, right?
Yeah. Sorry, it's just funny to hear.
And so I think that with the Bills, you might see a Jackson, Elam, Jackson, Elam, which will, of course, be 66-33.
Very fair. Nice math.
So I would be shocked if it was 50-50 personally.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think it's hot potentially because so many fans are clamoring for Kaiir Elam because of one, I think because of the athleticism and the speed and what they've seen. Also, you get these stats that are tweeted out where people be like, oh, Kaiir Elam against this team, only, this many coverage snaps and only this many targets and only this many receptions, and then all the lock emojis because he's doing amazing. And those really get me because targets don't necessarily take into account how that corner performed on that play. For instance, if you get worked and you get completely beat by your wide receiver and you're on the quarterback's left, but he gets pressure from the left, so the quarterback has to roll to the right and go somewhere else. None of that is factored into those stats. So you got absolutely worked, but it doesn't get factored in. And the context doesn't necessarily get added. And combine that with some good plays from Kyrie Elam, which he has had, and combined with Dane Jackson struggling at the catch point, I think you have a lot of fans clamoring for the Kyrie Elam piece. And then you have a matchup where you've got Jamar Chase, who is fast and strong and tremendous after the catch. You've got T. Higgins, who is a huge man at 6'4", 219, and who runs a 4.5 40, which is fast for his size and length. And so I think people see the physical attributes and think, okay, well, this should be a Kyrie Elam game. Mm-hmm. But then, like you said, the scheme and the structure of what you want to do in conjunction with the pressure up front and trying to contain Burrow could potentially speak to more of a zone game. Piggybacking off of that, what are your thoughts on Dane Jackson? Because so many people are ready to, I feel like, torch and pitchfork, in the streets against Dane Jackson. I don't think he's been as bad as people necessarily have, kind of made it out to be over these last several weeks, really starting with that Detroit game. My biggest thing is I think he's been subpar at the catch point. You're seeing him in position, and for whatever reason, he's just not making the play on the ball. But it's not something that he's had on the year. Sauce Gardner, per PFF, leads the NFL with 12 PBUs coming into this past week. Dane Jackson was only 3 behind him at 9. And so if he had a couple more of those plays on the ball, he's arguably tied for first, or 1 behind Sauce, who's having a tremendous year. Not that they're the same level of corner, but he is a zone responsible guy. He had a nice forced fumble against Chicago. We know the Bills coaching staff likes him as well, which is why he continues to see reps, because of his reliability and his dependability in their scheme and system and how he plays. But what's been your thoughts on Dane? Are you, meh? Are you higher than some? Are you ready to kind of throw him off the Titanic like a lot of people are? Where's your head at?
When the Dane Jackson should play more over Levi Wallace narrative was out there, the argument that was made at that time was that Dane Jackson might be more aggressive at the catch point, which I think is absolutely hilarious.
Given
like that, it's just amazing how quickly we forget narratives from like a year ago. And so I think what we've seen a player that, in my opinion, is giving the Bills slightly less than Levi Wallace was giving them. Just that's it, slightly less. That's my feeling on Dane Jackson. He has been slightly less than Levi Wallace, and that's okay. That's fine. Like that tracks. Dane Jackson was a 7th round pick out of Pitt. Levi Wallace was an undrafted free agent out of Alabama.
Yeah, pretty close.
They came in with almost identical physical profiles. And Dane Jackson just isn't as good in the ball skills department. That's it. That's all we got. We got the athlete that was Levi Wallace, and we got the athlete that was Dane Jackson, lined right up next to each other with slightly lesser ball skills instead of slightly better ball skills. And that was it. It's the same thing. So whoever the Bills' number 2 corner is, unless they're elite, they're going to get crapped all over. Just the way it is. It's just the way it is, because the other person's Tre'Davious White.
Yeah. And no matter what. And you're always going to get that comparison, and not to mention the work that you actually see. It's just this matchup for me is so intriguing with, and if we're looking at it from like an advantage standpoint, I do lean advantage Cincinnati in this regard. I want to start with T. Higgins. Again, 6'4", 219 pounds, a monster in terms of size and length and frame, runs that 4.5 40. He's also, and so on the year, amongst the 187 players, includes running backs and tight ends, of the 187 players that have at least 30 targets this year, T. Higgins is 9th in EPA per target. He's 7th in total EPA. He's 20th in yards per route run. He's 13th in yards per target. He's 11th in total receiving yards. He's tied for 11th in receiving touchdowns, and he's 23rd in receptions. And he's the wide receiver too. This man who's having a very strong raw statistical year combined with what he's doing in the advanced metrics perspective. And then you look at what he is physically and on the tape, the size, the speed. He's a one-on-one nightmare, especially down the field. He is a legitimate he takes 50-50 balls downfield and skews it to like 70-30.
35.
Yeah. Boom. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of that length, because of that frame, his ability to high point the football. And he's the 2 because Jamar Chase is a potential generational talent and arguably in the conversation, or at least in that Rolodex for who's the top wide receiver in the league when healthy. His athleticism, his speed, his run after the catch ability, which worries me tremendously with how the Bills have been tackling recently. And then you've got Tyler Boyd, a 6'2", 203-pound slot wide receiver who's like a power slot, who's tremendous cracking down on edges and linebackers and digging out safeties, but then who also has size and decent enough speed at 4.58, but has a tremendous feel for leveraging space and reading coverage. This is a matchup that, again, it's the lead matchup for us here. It's tremendously tough. We talked about the Bills' potential corner rotation here. On paper, do you think this matchup leans more towards Cincinnati? Do you think it's even? Or do you think it leans Bills?
I don't see how anyone can reasonably say it doesn't favor Cincinnati.
Fair.
I mean, they're 2 number 1 receivers against a cornerback we just admitted that everyone's ready to throw off the Titanic. Yeah. And Tre'Davious White coming back from injury. Like that, not
ideal.
If you look at me and tell me that Bills corners have a distinct advantage over Bengals wide receivers, I'm just going to chalk it up as homerism at that point.
Fair.
It is the most lopsided, in my opinion, of the matchups in the favor of the Bengals.
I'm right there with you. And it's going to be intense. As we transition that to the next piece, you alluded to it already a bit in your analysis when talking about the Bills DBs versus the Bengals wide receivers. Mr. Joe Burrow, who is having another strong year after having a good year last year, but a really hot and strong, November, December, and into January. He's thrust himself into the MVP conversation now. They have won 7 in a row. They've looked really good since week 9, and especially coming out of their bye, which was in week 10. Let's talk about how to defend Mr. Joe Burrow, which you, again, like I mentioned, you already alluded to partially. What are you looking for or hoping for from a coverage perspective, a front perspective, pressures, etc., in terms of defending Joe Burrow and trying to limit him and or making him inefficient in this game?
Like I said, I think this is a zone game. I think specifically this is a cover 2 game.
Okay.
One of the things that was giving the Bengals problems earlier in the year was cover 2, before eventually Joe Burrow was like, listen, I'm just gonna take it. Right. I'm just gonna absolutely just pick. Because one of the things that defenses started to show Joe Burrow is they started to show him the same thing that they showed Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. It's part of the natural progression of a quarterback, is that when defensive coordinators start to believe you are elite, you see a lot of too high. And specifically, he saw a lot of cover 2, not just too high man, any of that stuff. Not, too high, it ends up being cover 6. I mean, pure cover 2, right? So he had to go through that maturation process. I'm still, even though I know that he knows how to beat cover 2 better than he did, 6-8 weeks ago, I'm still saying this is a cover 2 game.
Okay.
And the reason that is because nobody does cover 2 quite like Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier do. No matter how many times Burrow has seen it, it looks different. Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott may be some of the better ones when it comes to disguising, pun intended, disguised coverage, specifically as it relates to 2 high or 1 high and things like that. So remember what I told you at the beginning? I said the key is you have to get him to hold the ball. And I don't think you get him to hold the ball. I don't think you bring, blitzes after blitzes after blitzes after Joe Burrow. He's 110 passer rating against the blitz. That's, Joe Burrow is one of the purest pocket passers in football. This is a team with very little play action, very little screen game, and Burrow is actually better. He's one of the very few quarterbacks who is better when he's not using play action. You don't hit the easy button for Burrow at all. You just grip it and rip it. You go to empty, right? You let Burrow spread out the defense. You let him read it and throw. That's it. It is the purest form of passing the football I have ever seen in my life. Take everything you know about the Eagles passing game and take away all of it.
Oh, wow.
Like take literally all of it, right? Just strip everything away, right? If the Eagles passing game is a Tesla, the Bengals passing game is a Model T. That's what it is. It is Joe Burrow in the purest of form. It is grip it, rip it. It's beautiful. If you're someone who appreciates pocket passing, Joe Burrow is absolutely, it is just a gorgeous thing to behold, just to watch him throw the football, because it really is very pure. But you have to get him to hold the ball, because he doesn't want to hold the ball. He's the second lowest time to throw in the NFL behind Tom Brady. He doesn't want to hold it. And so you need to get him to hold it. This is a coverage helping pass rush, not a pass rush helping coverage game. This is a coverage helping pass rush game. And so to do that, you got to be able to show him something that's going to cause him to move on. You got to leverage the route. You got to hold your disguises. I cannot tell you how important Leslie Frazier versus Joe Burrow in the metaverse is. The brain game between Leslie Frazier and Joe Burrow is a huge part of this game. So that's what I want to see. The second thing that I want to see is I want to see Gregory Rousseau turn up the heat on Hakeem significantly.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah.
This is a player who was essentially to the Bengals what Bobby Hart is to the Bills. He's a jumbo package offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Right? And he did perfect. He performed perfectly. And we all like Bobby Hart as the sixth offensive lineman, right?
Now, yeah.
We're all good with that.
Everyone's come around.
Right? Do we want him to start?
No.
No. So we don't want Bobby Hart to start. They don't want Hakeem Adeniji to start either. They don't want that. But now he's going to. He was in for 22 plays, had 18 pass rush snaps, and gave up 5 pressures.
That's not
great, Bob.
Not great. Good, nice,
Right?
nice connect.
So I want Gregory Rousseau, who typically aligns on the defense's left. I want to see that. That's what I want to see. So specifically, you need to get him to hold the ball. And with Adeniji, you need to get him to stop his feet. So this is a what did you learn from Von Miller game?
Nice.
For Gregory Rousseau. Because the key to being Hakeem Adeniji is not you're just going to get, he's an explosive athlete. He was an explosive athlete. But once he stops his feet, he's in trouble. So, I mean, this is, really, really explosive term in terms of RAS when it comes to Hakeem. But I need to see you bait that move out of him. This is not a straight long arm sort of a pass rush move. That's not what this is. I need you to set up your counters with this. You need to get him to stop, right? If you can flash a long arm, get him to two-hand punch, and then get around, you can do that. This is a what did you learn from Von Miller game. I'm going to be watching Gregory Rousseau going, listen, if you want to win against Hakeem Adeniji, you need to know that it's not just your long and strong and down to get the friction on. That's not what this is. It needs to be more than that. This is your move to set up another move. This is your, okay, I need to get him to overcommit. I need to get him to flash early. I need to get him to do the things. I need to make sure that I take advantage of any bad sets, because this is not a player who can make a mistake in recovery. We talk about recovery a lot for offensive tackles because not everybody is going to win every rep in the first 2 seconds. That's not how it works, right?
Yes, very true.
Recovery is a huge part of playing offensive tackle, making up for your own mistakes. That's where you can take advantage of this matchup. So for me, it is cover 2, right? It's make him hold the ball, right? It's show him something, change the picture on him post snap as much as humanly possible, and then it's win against the right tackle.
I love it. That right tackle piece, I'm going to start with that, is so huge. This Bengals O-line started out very shaky. Joe Burrow, in weeks 1 through 8, Joe Burrow was sacked 29 times. That was the most in the NFL by far. I think second was someone at like 13. So not even close. Since week 9, the Bengals have won 7 straight. They had a bye week mixed in there. But since week 9, Joe Burrow has been sacked only 10 times. So in their 7-game win streak, he's been sacked 10 times. This O-line started to come together a little bit, and part of that was La'el Collins. He was a bit clunky at times, but he started to get back to what the Bengals thought he was going to be when they gave him all that money in free agency this year to come over. So with him being gone, and you got Hakeem out there against a pass rushing group that is finding their feet and maybe even potentially found their feet a bit without Von Miller, very interesting matchup. I love that piece. Burrow has been he's just crushed everything. If you're looking at like single high coverages this year, he's fourth in EPA, third in completion percentage, seventh in yards per attempt, and fourth in positive play percentage. And against middle of the field open coverages, so your two high looks, he's 10th in EPA. Josh Allen's first, ironically. Burrow is first in completion percentage, seventh in yards per attempt, and fifth in positive play percentage. So he's done well. So, and like you mentioned, as the year has gone on, he started living in that world of, okay, cool, I'll just get through my progressions and check it down. He's evolved to a point where he has no problem taking the check down, especially once Mixon went out. He was living in that check down world to P-Ryan.
P-Ryan, man.
Yes, all day. Just drop back, dump, drop back, dump. He gets through his progressions quick. Like you mentioned, that pocket passer piece, right? He is a cerebral guy. He's good at getting through from 1 to 2 to 3 and then making good throws. The ball placement is there. He's also got more escapability than I think he gets credit for. He's a good pocket manipulator, especially considering what Cincinnati's pocket has been throughout this year. And I'm going to show a couple plays later that shows that escapability and what he's able to do. For me, it really, I like how you highlighted the coverage piece, and that's in there. So I'm gonna speak to the other point that I have when it comes to defending Joe Burrow. I want to see a lot of simulated pressures from the Buffalo Bills. I think changing that pre to post snap picture and winning up front, it's huge in every week, but especially because of, like you talked about, you want to do anything and everything you can to get Joe Burrow to hold onto this ball. And I go to, again, I'm going to show some of these clips later, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game tape against the Bengals before the Bucs offense turned it over like every other play in their own territory. They were getting to Burrow early and often with their simulated pressures, and they would drop, a defensive end, and usually a defensive end, and then they're bringing Devin White or Levante David, and Burrow drops, and he goes to, okay, I'm going to throw it here. Oh no, Tryon Sharinka is dropping. Okay, so let me come back over here. Oh, I'm sacked. Just adding that extra half a second to maybe even 3/4 of a second and allowing your rush to get there. And if you're combining that with an offensive line that has been vulnerable at times, although, like I said, they have been better, and a right tackle who probably shouldn't be starting, that's where it starts for me. I like the coverage piece on the back end because we're not going to see the Bills blitz a ton. I mean, knock on wood, that's usually not who they are. But anything and everything, like you said, to get Burrow to hold on to that ball, for me, it's a simulated pressure piece, changing that pre to post snap picture, creating some one-on-ones for Ed Oliver or Greg Rousseau or even Daquan Jones, seeing what he's been. AJ Epinesa has been flashing recently, trying to create one-on-ones as much as you can, winning up front and getting Burrow to hold on to that ball. Also within that, I think those two high looks, you mentioned that cover 2 piece, that's a 2 high coverage. For a lot of it, for me, starts with fitting the run. And I say this every week, but especially against the Bengals. So, and for those who don't know, how you fit the run determines what coverages you're able to play on the back end. If you have to commit more bodies to the box, for example, a safety, that means you can only play a single high coverage. If you have less bodies on the back end, that limits what coverages you can play and potentially less disguising that you can do. The Bengals have a very versatile run game from shotgun, and then especially coupled with their 11 personnel usage. Their 11 personnel usage on the year is 83%. Their shotgun usage is above 80. As this season has gone on, weeks 1 through 6, they were at about a 69% shotgun usage rate total, which was 13th in the NFL. From week 6 on, they're at 80%, which is 4th. So an 11 percentage point increase. They have the ability in their run game from shotgun to get to so much inside zone, outside zone, pin and pull, crack toss, and get on the edge, which we've seen the Bills susceptible to these past couple of weeks. They'll run your draws. They'll also run duo. They'll run wham and trap, which we've seen from the Indianapolis game last year, where the Bills defensive tackles can get taken advantage of if they get upfield too fast and in too much of a hurry. If the Bills can't fit the run with their 6 or 7 man boxes, I start to get a bit worried because, to your point, then what they can do on the back end, it starts to get a little murky if they have to commit more to the box. So for me, stopping Burrow starts with their simulated pressure packages, changing the pre to post snap picture, and then fitting the run so that they are able to play 2 safeties back, whether that's in a shell pre-snap or an actual, middle of the field open coverages post-snap, in order to figure out what they can do to kind of gum up the works for Burrow. Also, one last piece on the Bengals O-line. On the years, they have been better as the year has gone on. They're 12th in pass block efficiency per PFF. The Bills are 17th. Granted, we haven't seen this O-line really in a full game without Lael Collins, which we will see in this upcoming game. Bruce, we got one more point. Are you able to do it, or you got to go bye-bye?
Yeah, I can do one more point. I think that the key takeaway from the second point with Joe Burrow is that this is important. When you face an elite quarterback, there isn't a button. Okay, there is no easy button. Okay, you mentioned that Joe Burrow is 4th against single high coverages and 10th against middle field open coverages, right?
Yes, in EPA.
There is no easy button here. Okay, so Joe Burrow when blitzed, Joe Burrow when not blitzed, Joe Burrow under pressure, Joe Burrow when not. Like, he's good all the time, right? That's just the way it is, right? Every quarterback is worse under pressure, obviously, but blitzing him, not blitzing him, middle field open, middle field. There is no button that makes him mortal. He's really, really good.
He also, from a ratings perspective, so when pressured, he has the 4th highest quarterback rating at 84.3. Josh Allen is 1st at 94.1. But at 84.3 rating is like good, but even more so when you're pressured. So exactly to your point, like even when you're like, we got pressure on him, he's like, okay. Like, he's Joe Cool. Like, I know they give him that nickname, but yeah, like even when you give him the hard stuff, he's still succeeding.
Roy Collins in the comment section asked me, do you consider Burrow elite? Yes.
Oh,
yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
My definition of elite is very qualitative, and it is this simply: if there is no book on you, you are elite.
That's
if there isn't a just do this thing and he stinks, then you're elite. Because if you have a game plan that another defense can follow, and as long as they run this script, you're not good, then you're not elite.
That's fair.
But there is no easy button for Joe Burrow. You don't press a button and make Joe Burrow bad. That's not how this works.
No.
So schematically, you do what you can to absolutely kind of mitigate some of the stuff. But yes, 100%. Yeah, Joe Burrow's elite.
Yeah, I think we're at that point. I mean, I think I was maybe higher on him coming out of last year than maybe potentially people were. And I recognize that a lot of what they did last year was just a lot of go balls to Higgins and Chase and a lot of 9-8-9 and just kind of simplistic things. But like you mentioned, like how good he is from the pocket and how good he is mentally and then accuracy wise. I know he doesn't have the strongest arm and I know he isn't the biggest plus athlete, but he's got enough mobility and enough arm strength to go with his decision-making, his processing, his accuracy and his ball placement and his ability to throw with anticipation. Yeah. Like he's definitely elite and he's in that conversation depending on where you want to rank him in terms of like top QBs in the league.
All right. I know we got a third thing and it's what, Bills offense versus Bengals defense?
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals defense, they're a group that seems to adapt who they are based on their opponent. You know, it really ties into, the 3-man rushes against Kansas City last year and just adapting, whether it's blitz rate or coverages, man versus zone, and just pressure packages, what they do. Their core identity is almost being an adaptive defense that caters their game plan each week to their opponent. Bills offense versus this Bengals defense. What would you like to see the Bills do to attack the Bengals defense?
Lou Anarumo is going to get head coaching interviews.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Bengals
I always say
defensive
his name
coordinator Lou Anarumo is he's right up there with the Lions offensive coordinator for me as far as opposing assistant coaches that I love to watch work.
Ben Johnson has been an amazing.
Ben Johnson is fantastic. I mean, and Lou Anarumo is right up there with him. For me, I don't think this is a scenario where you can just count on Josh Allen creating moments for Stephon Diggs. I think you, as an offensive coordinator, need to create moments for Stephon Diggs because Anarumo is going to do everything in his power to take away Stephon Diggs. Like, that's his thing, right? Anarumo is his entire thing is to make you play left-handed. And he'll do it, even if you burn him. Even if you burn him with Gabe Davis, he'll go, that's fine. Just keep going to Gabe Davis. He's going to screw up eventually. That's his thing, right? I will not, if I am sitting here boxing you, and I am making you box with your, are you right-handed?
I am.
I'm making you box with your right hand tied behind your back, okay? And you get a really good hit on me. Do I just give up and give you the right hand back? No, I say, okay, well, you hit me with, okay, good. But we still intrinsically understand that you will still be weaker. Yes, you might get a hit in and that might suck, but I'm not just going to go, well, you know what? That didn't work. Here, let me uncuff that hand for you. That's not how this works. So when I look at the Bengals defense, I go, they're going to do everything they can. And you can't, based on the way Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen have been linking up over the last two weeks, you can't say, I'll just rely on Josh's statement of, I need to do a good job of getting him more involved. That can't be it. That cannot be it. I don't care if you went out there and signed Cole Beasley. Stephon Diggs is your best slot receiver. Make sure he's there. The second thing is, if you wanted to use tunnel screens, this is your week. And the reason I say that is because the Bengals, we've seen the Bengals game plan against elite quarterbacks in the past. They are not afraid to rush 3 and drop 8. Yep. They'll do it all day long, which means you need a convoy ahead of you if you're going to get something going. You know, a lot of people think that the time for tunnel screens is against a blitz heavy team. And that's true. It absolutely is 100%. But if you slow play that a little bit, you can get a convoy of blockers out. And that's the way you can get things happening. So the reason I say that is because the traditional RB screen game is just not part of it.
Right? Oh, it's true.
It's just not thing. It's never been a thing. It never will be a thing. And also, if you're going to have a zone defense with 3 men rushing and 8 dropping in, you have 8 people with their eyes on Josh Allen. The screen game is not going to work traditionally with an RB. It's not going to. No, somebody will trigger downhill and blow up the play. So if you want to get your playmakers in space with convoy, it's not going to be from the backfield on a delay screen, like a slip screen. That's not going to be a thing, right? You're going to need to tunnel it up on the outside, right? To be able to bring somebody back into the formation and make that happen. So, you know, if you really wanted to toss a tight end screen, for example, to Dawson Knox, this would be the time, right? So those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm looking at, okay, how have the Bengals historically played other teams? How have they played elite quarterbacks? They're not afraid to bring 3 and drop 8. And you need to have a plan for that.
Yeah.
You need to be really comfortable with Josh Allen running the ball. You need to be comfortable with that. Okay. If you're somebody who's not cool with that, you need to get cool with that real fast, because
get comfortable.
Also, get comfortable with Josh Allen checking into a lot of runs, because they've proven against the Bears that they can have success doing it, and they need to be willing to do it. If you're going to rush 3 and drop 8, and you have a draw play, for example, which has been successful, if you have some of the interior run concepts where you have pulling tackles, which the Bills like to do now, they like to bring the tackle and pull it inside through the gap.
Dart all day.
So if you want to run dart, right? If you want to run some of those things, they're really effective against linebackers that are already 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards off the ball, right? If you want to get those running plays successful, you can get them against people who are moving backwards. And if you're already bringing 3 and dropping 8, you are already moving backwards at the snap, which means you're already at a disadvantage against those specific type of run plays. So those are the kind of things that I'm keeping an eye on. I know I just kind of word vomit, but I'm running out of time. So I'm just throwing all that stuff out there. That's what I'm interested in.
No, you're good. And honestly, it ties into a lot of what I had in studying. So I always look at 3 teams or 3 games of tape for the Bills opponent when I can. And this Bengals defense is very fast flowing, and their linebackers, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, are better than I think they get credit for, especially Pratt, and going through some of the numbers and what he's doing this year. Of the 86 linebackers with at least 20% of coverage snaps, Jermaine Pratt has the 11th lowest reception percentage allowed at 72.2. Milano is 10th lowest at 71.1. Tremaine Edmonds is 14th lowest at 73.1. Pratt also has the lowest quarterback rating allowed when targeted at 68.9. Milano is 3rd at 73.5. He's good in his spacing and leveraging of routes, but I also think is a bit of a microcosm of what this Bengals defense is with how fast they are and what they read. At times, they can be gotten deep or they can be misled with their eyes. Give me in this game, and I think it ties in a bit to your scheming of things from Ken Dorsey and the offensive coordinator. Give me lots of motion in this game in every way, shape, or form. Give me short motion, give me jet motion, give me orbit motion, give me motion across the formation, or start out in 5 wide and motion somebody into the backfield. Give me under center play action. Give me, ironically to your point, I lit up as soon as you said it, give me Josh Allen on the ground in this game. Give me QB bash, give me QB power, give me zone read, give me split zone runs with Cook. Anything that you can do to mess with the eyes of the Cincinnati Bengals to make them read and react and go right just 1 or 2 steps, and then you come back and hit them with the left. I also have it in my notes too. Yeah, more of dart. That's that play, that tackle pull, which has really worked these last couple of weeks. We saw it really almost close out the game against Miami, where they were looping Dawkins and Brown all the way around to the other side. What they did against the Bears, they started to bring that tackle on that dart run inside and use him as a lead blocker on the inside. So varying things up a little bit, taking advantage of that athleticism. This Bengals defense can be gotten to on the ground because of your ability to take advantage of their fast flow, quick reacting nature. If you can get them to go the wrong way for just a split second or make them hesitate for a split second, or if you run it straight at them. They do have good pieces on inside with BJ Hill and DJ Reed, who out of the 200 qualifying interior defensive linemen, BJ Hill is 11th in total stops with 29. DJ Reader is 49th with 18, but he's only played in 9 games. So if you extrapolated that across a full game schedule at this point to up to where we are in the year, if he'd played in all 15 games, he'd be tied for 10th. So you've got 2 interior guys who are good at stopping the run. Granted, their edges are banged up. Hendrickson's playing with a broken wrist. Sam Hubbard is most likely out again with a calf injury. I'm excited to see what Joseph Asai does from a pass rush perspective from the Bengals. But yeah, they're fast. They're violent. They play aggressively. Take advantage of that. And yeah, you're going to have to find something else because they're almost Belichickian in terms of, like you mentioned, like, oh, you punch right-handed, cool, let's take their right hand and tie it behind their back and make them punch left the whole game. And even if we get rocked a couple times, odds are we believe that they're not going to be able to continue to land enough left-handed punches, and eventually we're going to win out. So you're going to have to figure out how to punch lefty or scheme away so you can get your right hand free and get it untied from behind your back and be able to rock them a couple of times. Really kind of taking advantage of who they are at their core and athletically from a personnel standpoint. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'm hoping for. Bruce, any final thoughts before we send you on your way?
This is a huge, huge game. Absolutely huge game.
You got serious for a minute. You were just like reflective. I was like, oh boy.
This is a massive game. It's a massive game because it, controls a lot about the number 1 seed. It's a unique situation because you have the Kansas City Chiefs rooting for the Bengals, which I think is weird considering they've developed their own fun little rivalry. I think that this is a meaningful game against a meaningful team. I think that the Bills' success or failure in this particular game will give you a lot of thoughts about what kind of team you might see in the playoffs. I think it's a good measure. Listen, I don't believe in must-win games really because I don't think the Bills need to be the number 1 seed in order to make the Super Bowl. But I do believe in measuring stick games.
Yes,
I think those are reasonable things, and I also think I really agree with the concept of measuring stick games this late in the season.
Big time.
Because a lot of times teams are not the same teams week 2 that they are week 17.
No. Who you are at this point in the year is who you are probably going into the playoffs and for the stretch run.
And so for that reason, I think, it's a meaningful game. Tensions are going to run high. And I really think that this is going to be a slobber knocker. And I wouldn't be shocked by any outcome. If the Bills boat raced the Bengals, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Bengals beat them close, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Bengals won by 14, I wouldn't be shocked. If the Bills won a close game, I wouldn't be shocked. When you have 2 really good teams like this, anything can happen because one team just has to have a markedly better day than the other one. Ball has to bounce the wrong way a couple times for your team, and all of a sudden, it's 14 points.
Yeah, that's very fair. The margin for error when you are playing a top caliber team, and I think that's what both of these teams are, the margin for error is so small, especially in a game where there's so much on the line. This is very much not to go with the proverbial line for it, but this is very much like a playoff game. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. It's prime time. It's Monday night. It's the last game of the weekend, so everybody's going to know the results already. Cincinnati is going to be riled up like crazy. They know they've beaten Kansas City already. Now they have the opportunity to beat the team that I think majority of people still have the Bills ranked ahead of the Bengals. So now the Bengals get to potentially take down another one of the AFC giants in their house. They're riding hot with this win streak. Burrow's in the MVP conversation. The crowd is going to be so riled up. And then from a pragmatic standpoint, there's so much on the line in terms of Do these teams see each other down the road in the playoffs? What are you putting on tape now? What are you going to see later? What does this do from a mental advantage standpoint if they see each other going forward? But then again, just from on paper, this is huge. The Bills need to, if the Bills win both of these games this weekend, next week, they have the 1 seed. What you have been clamoring for years is accomplished if you beat the Bengals and then you beat New England at home next week. It's it. Done and dusted. The Bengals still have a shot at the 1 seed, but they have to go through the Bills in their house this Monday, which is possible considering they took down Kansas City in their house a couple of weeks ago. Got 2 amazing young quarterbacks, faces of the league, a lot of tremendous skill positions on offense and defense. It's really shaping up to be a tremendous matchup. And Bruce, you crushed it as always. I appreciate you, finding the time and finagling some availability with me for this conversation tonight for this huge matchup. I appreciate the hell out of you. Just in case people don't know, just tell them who you are, where they can find you, all that stuff, and then feel free to go about your Wednesday.
You can find me at Bruce Exclusive on Twitter and Instagram. I will warn you ahead of time. The Instagram is mostly just pictures of food. So there's that. But I mean, it might be preferable to some of the takes.
I was going to say, some people might be like, oh, some people might be like, yeah, I like that.
Well, you're saying he shuts up on Instagram. Okay, cool. Let's do that. You can find my show, The Bruce Exclusive, every Thursday morning on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. And I do a show with Nate Geary from WGR live on Friday evenings called Food for Thought.
Yes.
Go Bills. Let's, everybody. I just hope everybody has a good time.
Let's do the thing. That's nice. I just hope everyone has fun. That's it. Bruce,
I'll catch you later.
Yeah, you were tremendous. Enjoy your night. Thank you as always, and I'll see you around.
Catch you later.
Mr. Bruce Nolan, at Bruce Exclusive on the old Twitter, on the old interwebs. Absolutely tremendous. Huge shout out to Bruce and huge thank you for him for joining me on this first part of the show. Like I mentioned in the beginning, just in case those of you weren't here on the beginning for the intro of this episode, what we're going to do now, we're going to shift some focus towards some game tape for the Cincinnati Bengals and for the Buffalo Bills. Really focusing on some matchup-specific pieces for this game to really highlight the magnitude of this matchup, what we're going to see, what we're going to get from this is a legitimate heavyweight fight. As Bruce alluded to and as I alluded to as well, so much is on the line. And I think at this point we all know, but the Bengals, they want that 1 seed and it's realistic for them. They just need Kansas City to drop one more and the Bengals just need to win out, right? The Bengals also want to win the AFC North, and a loss this week potentially complicates that for them just a little bit. The Bills want this 1 seed. They need to win this week and next week. And then you just have all the, mental and emotional pieces of a measuring stick game, like Bruce said, against another power in the AFC and in the NFL, really. You're comparing yourself to that other team. How do you perform? Do you win? Ooh, good comment here from Biggie Scooby saying, Burrow can't throw if he can't breathe. Smother him. It's going to be tough to get to Burrow with what the Bengals O-line has done recently. But again, Burrow's pocket manipulation, his escapability, was where we're going to show here in a little bit in this episode. Yeah, this game is going to be a great one. I was very excited to have Bruce on for the beginning of this show to really dive into some of the matchup-specific pieces. And now we're going to dive into some of the film for this matchup, really diving into things. I'm going to switch the banner. Now it says Bills versus Bengals game tape breakdown. We're going to start with the Bengals, kind of give them their flowers, but also show some of the vulnerabilities on the offensive side of the ball that the Bills could look to emulate from other teams. We got a ton of people here on this episode. I hate to show out and, ask for it, but if you are here, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video if you are enjoying this content, whether you're here live now or later watching this post live. Please drop a like. It goes a sincerely long way. We got a ton of people in here, over 200 live viewers. It will be awesome to see as many likes as humanly possible. Please, and thank you. If you find it in your heart, please drop a like on this YouTube video. Thank you so much. Oh, awesome. Thank you very much, Dylan. 1 for being here, 2 for the super chat. Awesome. And his comment here, Matt Milano will be huge in coverage this game. Yes, the Bengals offensively, I mean, their receivers can run almost anything in the route tree, and they run a variety of concepts, but they love to work the middle of the field, whether it's Chase, whether it's Higgins. I mean, they're going to stretch you on the outside, especially outside the numbers, but they can attack you in a hurry in the middle of the field. And just to kind of back up what Dylan's saying here. So Matt Milano, out of the 86 linebackers with at least 20% of coverage snaps, he has the 10th lowest reception percentage allowed at 71.1%, so lower is better. And then if you're looking at quarterback rating allowed when targeted out of those same 86 linebackers, Matt Milano has the 3rd lowest rating allowed at 73.5. He is having a tremendous year again, as he has the past several years in coverage, also making plays against the run. I'm going to show a couple of those later in this episode. Yeah, Dylan, you hit it there with, Matt Milano will be huge in coverage in this game. Honestly, the second level is going to have to be huge in general because the Bengals are a huge threat on the outside. But thank you very much for that comment there, Dylan. Thank you for being here. I also like what Albert says. Albert said he just liked the video and he let me know, and I appreciate that. And he put it in all caps with an exclamation point, so I know he really meant it. Thank you very much, Albert. And again, everybody, if you could be so kind, even while you're fighting with each other in the chat, Bengals fans, you're most welcome to join us here. I'm glad that you have. But while everybody in between fighting each other in the chat, feel free to drop a like. I appreciate you folks. Let's dive into some of the game tape here. Like I mentioned, we're going to start with the Bengals game tape. And I'm going to click the button so I can share my screen with you folks. And here we go. Okay, so now this first play we're going to show here. This is the Bengals versus the Cowboys. This is early in the year. This is when the Bengals are really struggling. And at this point in this game, this is in the fourth quarter. This is at the point where Burrow has been beaten up all game. He's been getting pressured all game. And I have it listed here or highlighted here with Burrow's escapability. And we're going to see it on this play. So let's watch what Joe Burrow does on this play. And this is where, and we've seen it with the Bills against Patrick Mahomes time and time again. It's not just getting into the backfield and not just getting to the quarterback. You have to be able to bring them down. And I know Burrow is more of the pocket passer, and he's not known for his mobility as much as Josh Allen is, or even really as much as Mahomes and Herbert are as well. But he's still got good maneuverability in the pocket. So if you watch on this play, he's going to get pressure right up the gut. The depth of the pocket is compromised. Watch him roll out. This throw is ridiculous. Layered over the top to T. Higgins. I'm going to start it back from here again. We're going to go in slow-mo. Watch the Cowboys bring the pressure. The depth of the pocket just collapses. And it causes him, he has Boyd coming over the middle, but he can't see him. Tyler Boyd is right here. Ooh. Tyler Boyd is, like I have circled right here. Tyler Boyd's right there. But Burrow's unable to see him because he's got that pocket collapsing in the center. So instead he rolls out and layers this throw over two defenders, including, look, you got Trayvon Diggs' extended arm, can't make a play. This throw is gorgeous on the run in a big third down moment. We're going to watch from the end zone angle, and you'll see it. Burrow, again, the depth of the pocket gets compromised. He's got nowhere to go. Boom. Good pressure from the Cowboys. They collapse. He sees it. It's collapsing down onto his leg, almost like how he tore his ACL in his rookie year. He backs up. He's flushed. He's got to make a play. Watch this throw. This throw is gorgeous. That throw is beautiful. I'm going to replay it a couple more times. I really just wanted to show this play for the throw. But again, we're highlighting the escapability piece. He's got to get this. Oh, right. I'm making all these weird noises in appreciation for this throw. Just a real strong throw from Burrow. Rolling to his left on the run. You see him able to get his body. You see that body turn? He gets that body turn. He gets that shoulder through. He's able to get more momentum behind this throw. But like everything, no matter, even when Burrow puts the most juice on this ball, he's never going to have a cannon. He's not a 99 throw power kind of guy, but his ball placement, usually he throws with anticipation. But on this type of throw, where the anticipation necessarily isn't there because he's not reading and going through his progressions, this is him scrambling and making a play off structure or off script and out of structure. This is a hell of a ball for placement. Diggs is right there, and he puts it on a rope and layers it over. A really strong throw from Joe Burrow. Now this play later in the game, this is a 4th and 6 with the Bengals down 17-9 with 6 minutes and 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter. This is a gotta have it moment. This is high leverage in a big time situation. This is a fine enough throw from Burrow. We're going to show it puts a little more on the back shoulder of Chase than kind of leading him in front. But this one is just highlighting Jamar Chase in one-on-one coverage or in one-on-one situation against Trayvon Diggs. And Trayvon Diggs for the Cowboys, I don't think he's as good of a coverage guy as the interception numbers might lead people to believe, but he has tremendous ball skills and tremendous instincts. For me, he's like a home run hitter at the cornerback position. He's not this guy that's going to hit, 300 and 320 and hit for average and hit for singles and doubles and steal bases and stuff. But he's a dude who's going to bat probably 250, but he's going to hit like 45 home runs. And he's going to strike out a bunch, but he's going to hit a ton of homers. And those homers make a big difference. This is a very huge play in terms of the moment for the Cincinnati Bengals, but even more so given who it's against. So watch Chase. Diggs gets him with a good jam from his inside arm, kind of puts him off platform, but Chase lifts it, powers his way through. And look at the ball placement, but Diggs comes right through it. If you watch this play in real time, you would think, oh, okay, this is probably incomplete. Right there, he chops right down on Chase's arms. Doesn't matter. Ja'Marr Chase's hand strength, his ability to extend, his toughness at the catch point. This is what you have to contend with. Like, these dudes are hard to beat, even with Diggs right in position. You'll see it coming out of the left part of your screen. Diggs is right there. That's the catch point. Diggs' hand is not only coming down on Chase's inside arm, but he's also got his hand in between the hands trying to rip the ball out, and he can't. Like, this is not bad coverage. This isn't bad technique from Trayvon Diggs. This is connecting it to a point that Bruce made earlier that Joe Burrow believes in. Like, if I got one-on-one with my guy, I'm throwing it to my guy because I trust them over whoever you have at corner. Right? I trust Ja'Marr Chase against whatever corner you're throwing out there. I trust T. Higgins against whatever your corner you're throwing out there. And it's hard to argue with the results. You've got these two tremendous wide receiver ones. Higgins is the wide receiver two, which is almost unfair. He can be a wide receiver one for a majority of teams in the NFL, but he's the two because of Ja'Marr Chase. Again, one more time, just to highlight it, this is just a wide receiver one being a wide receiver one in a big moment. Diggs is there, right at the catch point. Diggs is there. Doesn't matter. Chase comes through, gets the first down. Very, very big play for them in that game. Now, another piece I want to mention. So I talked about earlier that how the Bills fit the run against the Cincinnati Bengals. For me, it's important every week. Again, what coverages you play on the back end are dependent upon how you fit the run. How many numbers and bodies and who you have to commit to defending the run affects what numbers you can play back in coverage. Again, just the most basic example, you can't have two safeties back deep and playing two high coverages if you have to commit one of those safeties to the box to fit the run. What we've seen from the Cincinnati Bengals, and I mentioned it earlier, their ability as the season has progressed, their offense has shifted more into a shotgun-centric offense. Weeks 1 through 5, they had a 69% shotgun rate, which was 13th in the league, so still pretty high. But from week 6 on, their shotgun rate is 80%, which is the 4th most. And part of the reason they've had success in shotgun isn't just, passing out of shotgun and then coupling it with 11 personnel and having the trio of receivers that they have, and even Trent Irwin too, who's played well, but it's their ability to run out of this concept. Like I mentioned, they will run inside zone, they will run outside zone, they'll run pin and pulls, they'll run crack toss, they'll run duo, they'll run your basic draw, they'll run wham, they'll run trap. This is a wham play on this. For those who don't know, wham is just when you have that tight end, so 84 right there, like I have mentioned. Wham is just when you trap that defensive tackle, but it's a wham block if it's a tight end. It's a trap block if it's an offensive lineman. But you have a tight end here pinning down on Chris Jones, so this is wham. This can happen. This very play can happen to the Buffalo Bills because of their penetrating one gap nature. And for those of you who remember last season, this play happened a bunch in the Indianapolis Colts game. And ironically, it was also a number 84 for the Indianapolis Colts who was executing this. Jack Doyle for the Colts last year, if you remember it, similar formations, not necessarily in shotgun, but Doyle lined up, hipped off the offensive tackle, and just coming inside on that wham block and just clearing Ed Oliver out, and Jonathan Taylor just having a runway to burst through and get to the second level. This can happen to the Bills because, again, they're penetrating one gap nature of a defense. They want to get upfield. They want to get into the backfield. Plus, they use light boxes and 7-man boxes very often. And if you look at what Kansas City has here, you've got 4 down linemen. You've got L'Jarius Sneed on your left edge there. So that's a 5th defender in the box if you want to count it. And then you've got Bolton and Willie Gay at your linebacker spots. So really, there's 6 defenders in the box, kind of pushing 7 based on what you want to count Sneed there as. But this is similar to what you'll see from the Buffalo Bills in terms of box count. And this is good execution from the Cincinnati Bengals. So I have everything highlighted there. Number 64 at center, he's going to climb up to Willie Gay. 65, you're going to have him pinned down on the other Chiefs defensive tackle. La'el Collins, number 71, he's going to kick out to Dunlap on the right edge. And then 84, their tight end, is going to execute that wham block on Chris Jones, and watch just how smooth it is. I'm going to play it. Actually, I'll play it in real time for you. So quick. Highlights, something we talked about. This run is going to force your safety to come from depth and have to make a play. Justin Reed comes from depth on this play, and it's not horrible. He trips up P. Ryan a bit, but this is a one-on-one scenario. There's Justin Reed, number 20, coming down. We've seen this time and time again, especially from Damar Hamlin these past several weeks, where you are fitting the run as the only defender coming from depth. You have to make that tackle, right? You have to be that guy. Justin Reed misses on this play. This is something we've seen from Damar Hamlin these past several weeks. I guarantee the Bengals will run this wham run very easily. This isn't crazy. Like, this isn't bad defense. This is just Chris Jones wants to get upfield right away. So on the snap, number 95 right here, Chris Jones, he wants to get upfield. So on the snap, you see him head up. Boom, he's trying to get upfield. Uh-oh, I'm trapped. Willie Gay steps to the wrong side, tries to make a play. He gets sealed off. Collins has an easier base block against Dunlap. Now it's one-on-one. Can your dude make a play or does your dude miss? Justin Reed misses. You will see this from the Cincinnati Bengals against the Buffalo Bills. You will see this wham look. This play here, nothing crazy from a going back to the comments here. Apologies if I miss any comments. I will try and circle back through. But as I double duty, try and pulling up the film and going back and forth. But Pete's comment here, he says Hamlin hasn't been fitting the run and making the tackle well at all. He started out hot, flying forward in the early part of this year. But to your point, what we've seen these last several weeks is the more snaps he's gotten, we've seen more inconsistency, especially in that tackling piece and coming from depth. And I think part of it is tied to how aggressive he is in coming forward. He comes flying from depth, and it's good when it results in like big tackles and negative plays for the offense. But if you come up forward too fast and too out of control, it's a high risk, high reward type of piece. And, that's what we've seen recently from Damar Hamlin, unfortunately, and honestly from Poyer a little bit too, but not to give him a pass. I mean, he's playing with a pretty busted wing with what's going on with his left elbow. Lauren is one of my favorite people on Twitter, and this comment is awesome. Lauren says, I had an 80% shotgun rate when I was in college. That's well done, Lauren. That's well done. Nothing is going to be better in this show than that comment. I should probably just shut it down. Well done, Lauren. Very much well done. So this play here, this is nothing crazy. This play is just T. Higgins being a monster. Like I talked about earlier, amongst the 187 players with at least 30 targets this year, that includes tight ends and running backs along with wide receivers. So 187 players in the NFL have seen at least 30 targets this year. T. Higgins is 9th in EPA per target. He's 7th in total EPA. He's 20th in yards per route run. He's 13th in yards per target. He's 11th in total receiving yards. He's tied for 11th in receiving touchdowns, and he's 23rd in total receptions. And he's the wide receiver 2 in this offense. That's borderline unfair. And that's what I titled it on this clip here. I just put T. Higgins, almost unfair that he's the wide receiver 2 in an offense. Beats the man coverage, ball inside, breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, touchdown. Just, what do you do? The jam isn't even bad. The coverage isn't even bad either. Like, he's just bigger and stronger than the corner is. And we're watching in slow-mo here. Not a bad route, not a great route, but he's able to clear the hands, get inside. Burrow throws this ball early enough and puts it dead center, right on the numbers. So in order to make a play on this ball, the corner has to go around T. Higgins, which is going to be hard because of how big Higgins' frame and body is. You can almost kind of box out the corner like a power forward or center in the low post. Corner tries to go around, make a play, can't. Literally, you're watching, look at the corner right there. Like, he literally can't get his arms around the frame of T. Higgins. So the catch point is already made, right? This is, again, goes to that tackling piece. T. Higgins is just big. He's hard to bring down. Jamar Chase is a force with the ball in his hands. He is the proverbial when he gets the ball in his hands, like he functions like a running back with the speed, the power, the broken tackle ability, the agility, his low center of gravity. He runs behind his pads. Like, the Bills' tackling has to be better than it has been these past several weeks, really since they've come out of the bye. But there's the catch, right? So he catches this ball at the 6-yard line, and he's got a corner on him, literally physically, like on his body, like a backpack at the 6-yard line. Powers through him, doesn't get brought down. Then the safety has him lined up. So his momentum is being halted. He already has another grown man on his person here. Nah, just lowers his shoulder, goes through the safety, lunges forward, touchdown. Ridiculous. Like, that's the number 2 option here for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's wild. This one, there's nothing crazy to this one either. Great comment here from Plum Crazy Chris. He says Buffalo is not good. This guy watches ball. Here's Jamar Chase. This catch doesn't count because he doesn't get his feet down, but just watch this ridiculous one-handed catch. That's it. That's all I want you folks to do. Look at that. I'm going to go back in slow-mo just in case everybody didn't get to see it. Watch him reach back and just snag that ball one-handed. I'm going to let it play so we can watch it from the end zone angle too. We'll actually pause. Let me grab this comment here from Bryce. Bryce said, I just joined the stream. Is Bruce not here tonight or did I miss him? You missed him. He was in the first part, about the first 45 minutes. We talked a whole bunch of ball. So feel free to ride with us here for the entire rest of this episode. And then you can restart it once it's done. And then you can see Bruce at the beginning. He was fantastic, as always. So watch this play from Jamar Chase from the end zone angle. Unreal. Also, I see your comment there, Roy. Thank you for answering the comment on Bruce. So I feel good knowing that there's people in the chat who can answer things while I'm here chopping up video. Watch this catch. The end zone angle always has better quality than the sideline angle on the all-22. I don't know why, but we can see it clear on this one. All right, so Burrow puts it up. Okay, here we go. Here comes Chase into frame. Look at the extension. I think everybody can see that. The ball is here. And he's one hand. There's no bobble. There's no like patting it to himself. He literally just reaches out and plucks it from the air and brings it to his body. I know this catch didn't count, but that's the caliber of athlete you're dealing with. Like, this has no business being caught at all. Tremendous catch from Jamar Chase. You're dealing with studs at that position. Now, this last one from this game, yeah, as Jason says, that's just silly, 1,000%. Joe Burrow. This is late in the game against the Chiefs. This is 3rd and 11. The Bengals are up 27-24, and there's a minute 59 left in the fourth quarter. The Bengals want this first down because they don't want to kick the field goal, because even if they make it, cool. They're up 30-24, and Patrick Mahomes gets the ball back with probably, the Chiefs have one timeout right now. So if it's an incomplete pass, Mahomes is going to get the ball back with about a minute 50 and a timeout. Even if they have to use a timeout, he's going to get the ball back with a minute 50 and no timeouts. That's still tons of time. Bills fans know everything about time and giving the ball to Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals want to ice this game out. They do not want to give this ball back to Patrick Mahomes. So it's 3rd and 11. Watch this throw. I'm just going to go in slow-mo. Gets a little bit of pressure. That's the key piece too, right? So watch the game up front from the Chiefs. It gets the Bengals. There's a man bearing down on Burrow. You got a free runner. He stands in the pocket, knows it's coming. Watch this throw. So you've got some trash underneath. So he's got a lower, but he's also got a corner draped on T. Higgins, like I'm going to show you folks in a minute. Watch the ball placement. So look at this. I'm just going to keep circling it. This is tremendous coverage. This isn't bad coverage. Like, you're right there. Again, look where the ball placement is. The ball is here. Tremendous ball placement. Tremendous ball placement. Again, this would be good ball placement for anyone, but even more so when you know you have a very large 6'4", 219-pound receiver, big-bodied, frame, everything. It's hard for a corner to get around that body and make a play. Like, it's just, what is it, physics? Like, it's just, or biology, whatever the hell. Like, it's just hard to get your hands and arms around a dude that big and try and make a play on the ball. So Higgins does a good job of using his body to shield the defender from the ball. But look at that ball placement. And this is on a 3rd and 11. Huge moment. And the pass rush gets there. Like, the stunt, the scheme. Yeah, granted, it could have worked quicker. But this works. Even when you're right, you can be wrong. Josh Allen does it all the time, right? The coverage is great, or the rush is great. He breaks a tackle, jukes a guy, evades somebody in the pocket, extends the play, and hits a 25-yard throw downfield or a 40-yard throw downfield. Or he keeps it and he runs for 30 or 40 yards himself. You've got those next-level players in the league that even when you've lost in a rep, they can allow you to win. Even when you're wrong, they can make you right. Joe Burrow can do that with his ability to read progressions and his ball placement and accuracy. Again, just one more from Joe Burrow. Now, we're going to come to some pieces in terms of good comment here from Jason saying, I always get nervous when a team has special playmakers. You just never know when they will make a few ridiculous plays that you have little to no control to stop. I think that's very well said. That's what it is, right? Sometimes it's just like no matter what you do, dudes just make a play and that'll get you from time to time. But, that's when you kind of just got to tip your cap and say, all right, cool. Like, dude made a play. And that's what it is, right? Like there's what I just showed too, that last throw to Higgins and even the one in the red zone to Higgins as well on that touchdown. That's not open like in the NFL. That's good coverage. Like that's the receiver using his body and playing to his strength, but that's also tremendous ball placement from Joe Burrow. Like if you lose on that rep as a corner, you're pissed because you were in good position and you still lost. Like that is just, that's unfortunate. But I wanted to highlight these plays now as we shift towards the back end of the Bengals film. So folks who watch the show regularly, you know how big a fan I am of creeper pressures or simulated pressures. What those are, in case folks don't know, that is when you bring a non-traditional four rushers. So in the simplest sense, imagine you drop a defensive end or defensive tackle from your four-man rush and drop him into coverage and you replace him with a linebacker. Boom. Okay. And then the difference between a simulated pressure and a simulated pressure is you show the pressure look before the snap. A creeper, you don't. So this one's a creeper because Levante David is going to blitz here, number 54, and the edge player here is going to drop out. So that's why it's a creeper pressure. You're still rushing four. You're going to rush these three plus Levante David back here. So you still have a four-man rush, but you're going to drop that edge off. And the reason it's a creeper, again, is because Levante David is not showing pressure pre-snap. If Levante David was up here or on the edge and he rushed and this defensive end dropped out, it would be a simulated pressure because he's showing pressure pre-snap. The main advantage with simulated pressures is you're showing a pressure look and still bringing pressure, but it's more of a safe form of pressure because you're still only rushing four. You're not bringing 5 or 6 or 7. You have the opportunity to dictate protection to the offense. You can force them to slide one way, force them to keep in a tight end or running back to block. And then if you're only rushing 4, all of a sudden they just kept in a guy who doesn't need to be in there because you're only rushing 4. Now you have one less getting out into the route distribution for the offense. And then again, from a protection standpoint, you can use an offense's protection rules against them by, okay, let's show this pressure look because we know when we show it, the offensive line is going to slide this way. But then we're going to drop out 1 or 2 of those guys and bring pressure from the other side. And now we have a one-on-one situation created or a potential free runner that's coming down on the quarterback. And again, on top of all of that, you're still able to drop 7 into coverage. Yes, there are some vulnerabilities because you're dropping a non-coverage guy like a defensive lineman into coverage, but there's a lot of pros towards running these simulated pressures and creepers. I'm a huge fan of it. This is a good one for the Bengals. This is what I talked about earlier, or a good one here for the Buccaneers. And this is what I talked about earlier with Bruce. Changing the pre to post snap picture on Burrow, making him hold the ball for a couple extra beats, and then just good design. The Bills use creepers and simulated pressures. I broke it down in the offseason. I broke it down this year. I'm going to show one later. Actually, no, I'm not going to show the one later, but I showed it on Twitter when I broke a play down against the Bears that they use simulated pressures. Simulated pressures and creepers are a part of the Bills defensive playbook. So we'll watch on this snap. Watch David. Loops right around. Bang. Nails Burrow. Ball pops out. Burrow gets back on it. But that's a good play. And again, I have it highlighted. So notice the slanting from Tryon and then 96 here for the Bucs. Watch them slant inside. They're going to occupy the guard here and the tackle here. And then, like I have highlighted on the other side, his defensive end is going to drop. So again, you're only rushing 4, but you're bringing a non-traditional rusher and you're dropping a traditional rusher into coverage. So watch the teamwork up front. So you get the slants inside. Boom, boom. And this allows David to come scot-free right off the edge. And again, this is where that team defense piece comes in. I want you to watch Tryon Shoyinka. Watch him occupy when he gets through into this gap. He's going to use his right arm and get a hand on the guard, and he's going to keep his left one here on La'el Collins to occupy both of them. And he does that so that way David can come around free. And again, what it does to Burrow, watch Burrow. He looks left because he thinks that's going to be there. If we go at it from the sideline view, he looks to that left side thinking, oh, okay, this route's going to be here. And it's not. Because why? Because that edge player dropped right into where his man was going to be. So now he's got to hold on to the ball a half second longer. Boom, sack. Not rocket science. Just good concept, good design, good play call. Again, he goes to go through his other progressions. His number one is taken away, and he's like, all right, cool. Let me go to the other side. And as soon as he turns, he gets popped. Boom. I'm going to go later into this Buccaneers game. So this one now is a simulated pressure. Again, same thing. We're going to drop a defender, but we are going to show pressure pre-snap. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the line. And then we've got Devin White also kind of showing pressure, even though he's still off ball, but he's close enough that he can be considered as a pressure defender. Well, for me at least anyway. You're going to get Levante David down here. He's going to drop like I have highlighted there. And then the edge up here is going to drop. And Devin White in the middle is going to rush. Let's play here. Watch it all play out. Take away his first read. By the time he goes to another, the pressure's there. Huge sack, huge loss. Again, design. You see on the left, drop from the edge, drop from the edge. Then you get a little occupying on the interior from the nose tackle, from that zero tech, which frees up David. This is what the Bills need to do and attack this offensive line. Simulator pressure piece. Real nice. And then Burrow compounds it by making an interesting scramble decision there. We're going to go to another one. This is a creeper pressure. Same package, same family. This one is combined with a nice coverage piece on the back end. So the two players I've circled, again, you have your 4-down lineman. Tryon Shoyinka is going to drop. Devin White is going to come on the rush. But watch the coverage piece that they do. You're going to get a cover 2 look on the back end. So this post safety, this is a good disguising coverage. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. A good disguising of coverage from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this post safety is going to go to the boundary side as a split field safety. And number 23, who's lined up at corner down here, he's going to drop as the deep safety on this side. The slot corner is going to drop as the cloud corner in the cover 2 look down here. And it confuses Burrow, and he throws an interception. So you get the pressure look, plus coverage on the back end. He thinks he's got a man. Corner jumps it. Again, it's all about making Burrow have to hold on to the ball a little more, but also combining that with getting pressure, confusing him on the back end. Any one of these things, if you can get pressure outright at the snap, cool, you win. If you can make him hold on to the ball a little longer because of good coverage on the back end, cool. And then maybe you can get pressure. If you can make him hold on to the ball because you confused him with coverage and it leads to a sack, cool. If you can confuse him with coverage and get a turnover, cool. The moral and the point of all of it is make Burrow hold on to the ball. And this isn't necessarily unique to Burrow, but with how good his processing is, you need to work to make him hold on to the ball. You have to get creative with your pressure looks and creative with your coverages. The Buccaneers did a good job in this game. Again, their defense kind of got put out because the offense turned it over a gajillion times and in horrible position. But like this concept, this is a really good idea. Like you've shown creepers and simulators throughout this game. Now you do it again, but you mix up the coverage on the back end. Really good concept there from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a good game plan. I liked what the Buccaneers did. It's a shame that they weren't able to get the win in that game based on what happened to them. But, sometimes them's the breaks. This is what Pete says. I just want interior pressure and outside contain. Very fair. Let's go to... Mike says, did the Steelers even have Watt when they beat the Bengals? Yeah, when they beat the Bengals in week 3, they did have TJ Watt. He had a ridiculous interception literally at the line of scrimmage and just jumps up and picks it as Burrow threw it. Watt had a crazy game. So did Minka Fitzpatrick. He had a defensive touchdown in that game. Their studs on defense showed up in that one. Oh, I see people are arguing in the chat. You folks do you. I'm going to keep rolling with this episode, but I appreciate you being here. Again, we have a ton of people in here, over 200 people still. While you're here, if you haven't already, please, 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 and thank you, drop a like on this video. I know it's corny to ask for it, but it goes a sincerely long way towards helping myself and the entire team to track and trend in front of more eyes. So please, please, and thank you if you would be so kind. Now, I want to show a graphic real quick, and talking about the Bills defense, I've alluded to it several times throughout this episode. So this is a graphic I made for the Bills run defense, live by the sword, die by the sword. So if you see on the left there, the Bills, they lead the league. Again, from a run defense perspective, they lead the league in missed tackle plus broken tackle percentage versus the run at 16.1%. Second, you'll see who's second, third, fourth, and fifth here. Not great defenses. Second are the Texans. Third are the Jags. Fourth are the Bears. Fifth are the Raiders. But then you juxtapose that with what you see on the right side of this graphic. The Bills defense is also fourth in run stuffs, which are runs for 0 or fewer yards, and they're tied for second in tackles for loss. The juxtaposition of these with their missed tackles is a microcosm of their aggressive, penetrating, fast-flowing nature. That's what this Bills defense is. They want to get upfield. They want to make plays in the backfield. They want to put you into negative scenarios, right? So if you run it on 1st and 10, their goal is to turn it into 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13. This isn't really a 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 6 defense, right? They are aggressive. They get upfield, and it's backed up by what you see on the tape, but also with the numbers. They're fourth in the entire league in runs that go for 0 or fewer yards, and they're tied for the second most tackles for loss as a defense. But then they're also at the top of the league first in terms of missed tackle and broken tackle percentage versus the run at 16.1%. They are a fast-flowing, aggressive defense. And when you are fast-flowing and aggressive, that's where the live by the sword, die by the sword piece comes in. Sometimes you make big plays, right? Sometimes you get a tackle for loss. Sometimes you get good penetration upfield and it leads to a sack or it leads to a huge negative play in the run. Or sometimes you get upfield real fast and the play goes the other way and now you've out-leveraged yourself. And instead of getting a 2 or 3 yard tackle for loss, you're giving up a 7 or 8 yard gain. That's what this Bills defense is. They are fast flowing. They are aggressive by nature. And what they do against the run is very live by the sword, die by the sword. So they're out here leading the league in missed tackle, broken tackle percentage versus the run. And then they're also out here with the 4th most, stops for 0 or fewer yards and tied for 2nd in tackles for loss. That's what this Bills defense is. So expect to see that in this game against Cincinnati, but also going forward. That's what the Bills are, right? That's what this defense is. And now think about it. If you're just thinking about these Bills games that have happened this year, how many times do you see, oh man, a big chunk run for 8? Oh man, a big chunk run for 13. And then you see a run that's a loss of 4 and now it's 2nd and 14. They want to put you into those disadvantageous situations and then lead on their scheme and who they want to be and what they want to do. So I thought that was a huge, interesting piece in really talking about what this Bills defense was. And in talking about this Bills defense, let's go into some of the tape from this Bears game that I think will be important for what the Bills need to do on defense against the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're going to start here. So share my screen. Let's share the screen here. All right, so this first play, again, we talk about the light boxes and the Bengals being able to get to a lot in their run game from their gun looks. This is very similar to what I showed earlier with that wham play from the Bengals against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not necessarily same look offensively from the Bears, but from the Bills. Remember, you had 4 down linemen. You had L'Jarius Sneed over here. Now it's Trey White. And then you had your 2 linebackers. So you had 6 in the box, but basically kind of 7 because of where L'Jarius Sneed is. When you play these kind of light boxes, you have to win on the defensive line. You have to gum up the works or you have to get penetration and allow your 2nd and 3rd level players to make a play. That's what happens on this play for the Buffalo Bills. Watch A.J. Epinesa on the snap. I have him highlighted. Watch him slant inside. He's going to get a pulling guard. Wrong arms him. He takes him on inside, sticks that pulling guard, but then he also gums up the works for the pulling tight end here. Done. And then you've got Matt Milano. Watch Milano. He reads this play. He gap exchanges and reads what's going on in front of him. Slides to the other side. Also, you can watch Tim Settle here, showing some really good hustle to chase this down from the back end. Boom. Defending the run with a light box. You get that penetration early, rally, tackle to the football. You see all the Bills defenders swarming. You need good defensive line play against the run in general, but especially when you play with light boxes. This is why so much, and I get people who tweet and go after, Edmonds more than Milano, but even Milano at times be like, oh, the linebackers can't stop the run. It would be amazing if a linebacker was so good that the defensive line play in front of them didn't matter, but it does. Stopping the run and fitting it with a light box like the Bills do, it starts with the defensive line. That's what it is. And when the defensive line executes, shock, the run defense is better. When they don't, the odds of the run defense having success go down. So again, really good play from AJ Epinesa comes in here. So again, watch, this guard is going to pull and this tight end is going to pull. They want to lead this thing out in front, and Epinesa slants inside quickly, just takes up 2 dudes. Boom, that's it. Settle gets penetration on the backside, forces Herbert to bounce. Team defense. The Bills are going to need this against the Bengals because the Bengals will run, not just in terms of volume, but they'll have success doing it, running out of the gun like I talked about. The one play I showed earlier, the wham, that's just one piece. They'll run crack toss out of this where they'll get somebody cracking here, then they'll loop the tackle around and they'll pitch it to Mixon or P. Ryan and try and get him out on the edge. They're creative, and they run a lot of varying combinations from their gun run package. But again, really good play from AJ Epinesa. Wrong arm, gum up the works. Milano flows over, settle, Taryn, boom. Good play. Now, let's keep it going here. Play 2 comes in the third quarter. Again, showing these pieces of what the defensive line can do in terms of being effective against the run. So this one, the Bills have a run stunt. And if you remember what this Bills game was against the Bears, the first 2 drives, not so great against the run. But as the game progressed on, especially in the second half, the Bills were much better against the run. This is the very first defensive play for the Bills in the second half. This set the tone for how the Bills were going to play defense this entire second half against the Bears run game. So you're going to get a run stunt from Shaq Lawson and from Daquan Jones. And all that means is, so, as I go here, you have them highlighted, but Shaq's in this gap, Daquan's in this gap. What you're going to get on the snap, you're going to get them to slant inside. So Shaq's going to take a step and go into here. Daquan is going to go into here. So you just get a little run stunt. You're basically just changing your gaps, right? Watch how silky smooth. Daquan gets penetration too, but Shaq is the big one. He gets in, he gets skinny. And what do we talk about, right? Sometimes you get gouged because of your aggressive nature up front. Sometimes you miss tackles. Other times you get stops and you get tackles for loss, like we showed in that graphic. Watch Shaq Lawson and Daquan Jones. They slant inside. Shaq gets upfield. This is a loss of 7 for the Bears. Show it from the sideline angle too. Here's Shaq Lawson right here. Knifes into the backfield because of this run stunt. Boom. That's what the Bills are going to be. That's who the Bills are. And sometimes, you know what? Because if you're running this play and this is able to get, if Shaq is able to be cut off and they're able to pin this and you out leverage yourself, if they're able to down block this and gum it all up to the point that Montgomery has a one-on-one opportunity and he can get that edge, that's the risk that you run. So when it works, it's beautiful. And sometimes it doesn't. But this is another example of the Bills winning up front. It's something they will need to continue to do because you want to play 2 high looks on the back end. You want to be able to have 2 safeties pre-snap and post potentially, but definitely pre-snap so you can, okay, is it going to be cover 2? Is it going to be cover 4? Is it going to be cover 6? Are they going to spin one down into cover 3? Is it cover 1? Is it going to be some kind of combo coverage? Is there going to be a blitz? Is one of those safeties going to drop and be a robber? Is the whole player going to come from somewhere else? You want all of these things going through the quarterback and offensive coordinator and play caller's mind pre-snap, and then in the quarterback's post-snap, you want all that. And that starts with being able to fit the run from your light boxes. And a big piece of that, again, is the success of the defensive line up front in terms of what they're able to do and what they're able to be. This next one isn't anything sexy or crazy schematically. This is just Matt Milano. This is 3rd and 2. This is Matt Milano blowing up a run. He gets talked about so much in coverage. And like I mentioned earlier, having the 3rd lowest quarterback rating against when targeted, having the 10th lowest reception percentage allowed. Again, both of those amongst linebackers, the 10th lowest reception percentage allowed amongst linebackers. He gets talked about for his coverage piece so much, but he's a dog around the line of scrimmage. I don't use that with just the corny, like, oh, dog, or like whatever. Like, He's violent. He's tenacious. He's relentless around the line of scrimmage and getting into the backfield. And this is an example of it here. This is 3rd and 2. He just clicks, closes, detonates on the fullback and blows this run up. N'Keal Harry right here, he's trying to crack down and pick up Milano. Watch him come down. He's trying to get Milano. He can't because Milano moves so fast, blows this whole play out. Watch it from the end zone angle. Destroys this whole run. This leads to a loss of 1 yard, I believe. So this was 3rd and 2, and it turns into 4th and 3 because Milano just blows this whole thing up. Beautiful run fit. This isn't necessarily game specific. I just wanted to show this play because I love it and thought it was absolutely beautiful from Matt Milano. I'm gonna let it play as I start to queue up the next one for us here. So the next play that we have also in the 4th quarter, like this Matt Milano play. So I'm going to highlight Gregory Rousseau, and he's the first piece I want to focus on. He's going to get cut block on this play. The Bengals will run screens. They'll run tunnel screens to their wide receivers. They'll run smoke screens to the wide receivers. They'll run screens to the running back. When that happens, you have to be active at the defensive line, the 2nd level, 3rd level, all those pieces, right? Watch Greg Rousseau on this play. Watch as he gets cut. He doesn't take his eyes off the ball. Head up, following the ball, makes a play. His length in his frame shows up. Tremendous hustle, effort. I'm going to slow it down again. So he gets cut. He goes down. Look at him. He's on the ground. His head is up. His eyes are on Fields and on the ball. So as he's getting up, he's tracking the ball. And then you see him take a good angle. That's a key piece too, right? So he doesn't take too flat of an angle so that he can get beat around the corner. He takes a pursuit angle to cut this play off. It also helps when you're huge and you can take like 2 steps and you're already at the sideline. Then he gets to Herbert, and he's got those big, long tree trunks for arms, and he's able to make the play, right? But now, aside from Groot, I want you to watch the rest of this defense. I want you to watch Taron Johnson and Trey White and DeMar Hamlin and Tremaine Edmonds. Watch how fast-flowing this defense is once they see screen, once they see the little dump off. Just look at, especially Taron Johnson, boom. They swarm. Especially Taron Johnson. Number 7, there you go. Just cutting them off, playing your pursuit angles, forcing this back. The Bengals have athletes, whether it's Joe Mixon back there, whether it's Samaje Perine coming out of the backfield. Even Evans is a dude who can make you miss out of the backfield. Or again, the guys on the outside, Chase and Higgins and Boyd, dudes that aren't easy to bring down. You have to rally and tackle. In an ideal world, cool, 1-for-1, guy who gets there first, makes the tackle, cool, done and dusted. It's going to be hard to do when you got plus athletes like that. You need to rally and tackle. You need to make plays. This is Taron Johnson. Just watch him just get out of the, once he reads this, just comes screaming towards the sideline. Oh, there it is. Boom. Get through my man. Bang. Rally and tackle. Get to the ball. That's what you need every week, but even more so, again, against athletes of this caliber for the Cincinnati Bengals. You cannot allow them to win. So you get that hustle, you get the flow to the football, speed, athleticism, pursuit angles. You need that consistently. Again, against a team of this caliber in the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's go to another play here. This is a tech stunt from Tim Settle and AJ Epinesa. I have the routes highlighted up there for him. So you got Tim Settle right here. You're going to watch him. He's going to go first. He's going to go into that tackle. AJ Epinesa is going to take 1 step forward, and then he's going to cut and loop back inside. So you have the tackle going first, and then you've got the edge. So tech stunt, TE, tackle, end, or tackle edge, whatever you want to label it as. Tackle goes first because the T is before the E, and the edge comes behind him. Really good play to flush Fields from the pocket. And then you've got Matt Milano here. I think he's cluing in on Herbert in the backfield, but Herbert stays in the block. So once that happens, he kind of just plays that zone and spies on Fields. This is a really good rush. Epinesa comes in clean. Fields is a plus athlete, so he makes a play. But look at Milano chop him down in space. You want to get Burrow off the pocket, you got to play games up front. I mean, if you can just win straight up one-on-one and not play games, cool. And you might be able to, given some of the vulnerabilities the Bengals offensive line has shown this year. Play some games. Good stunt, flush him from the pocket, and then look at Milano close. That's not easy. Justin Fields is one of the most electric players in the entire NFL. He's crushing it with his legs. He's run for over 1,000 yards with his legs. He's having a phenomenal year, crushing it anytime he gets in space, and Milano just closes him down, eyes him, keys him. Similar, it turns out similar from a result standpoint to what the Bills did against the Chiefs with their odd mirror package and just trying to get Mahomes off the spot. And then Milano was that aggressive spy attacking as soon as you see that. But look at all that space. Milano has to make this play. If Fields breaks this, bro, there's no one there. Now, Burrow isn't the athlete that Fields is, so it's easier to close down on somebody like Joe Burrow. But this is what you want. Play games against the offensive line, right? Really good job from Settle. Watch Settle. He's just going to gum this whole thing up so Epinesa can come here and then loop back through on that tech stunt. And Epinesa sells it well, too. He starts to get upfield, makes that tackle commit so he can help Settle be that spiker and really occupy. So that way he can be the looper and come in clean and come in free. Bang. Okay, doesn't get the sack. Milano cleans it up. Team defense, team defense, team defense, team defense. Now, got another play here. This is the last play we got in the film breakdown from this Bears game. And again, this is relevant again to what you're going to see or what you would want to see against the Cincinnati Bengals. So we've got A.J. Epinesa on the left edge there, Greg Rousseau on the right from your vision standpoint here. We're going to continue to talk about it every single week with the absence of Von Miller. Can the Buffalo Bills defense, can they close out games? Who is that closer from the defensive line or the defense in general? Von Miller was brought in to literally be that guy to close out games. We saw him impact the Chiefs game huge and close out the game in a way the Bills couldn't in the playoffs last year, although they still should have won regardless. That's a conversation for another time. But we'll start with A.J. Epinesa here on this play because you want to commit as many numbers into coverage as you can against a team with weapons like the Bengals have. So the more numbers you have in coverage, the better. So if you want to drop 7 or even 8, if you could, cool. That gives you the numbers because no matter what, you got 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback. That means on any given play, there's 6 that are right there. 11 minus 6 is 5. The max number that an offense can commit to the route distribution for a pass play is 5 guys. So if you can drop 7, you've got 7 versus 5. You have an extra 2 bodies, just math, right? It helps you with spacing. It helps you with disguising things. It helps you rally and tackle, all of those pieces. So if you can get pressure with just 4 or 3, that works. What's nice about this one, this is towards the end of the game. This is similar to that odd mirror package the Bills ran against the Kansas City Chiefs where, again, you got 3 down linemen. Matt Milano's here is that aggressive spy. And you're looking to kind of just create problems for Fields. And there's Milano. He's up at the line of scrimmage. He's acting as that aggressive spy. As soon as Fields gets off his spot, Milano's going to attack. But he doesn't even need to because Epinesa bears down, no pun intended, right on Fields. So again, you get that odd mirror look. You get that 3 down. Matt Milano's going to sit here. He's going to spy Fields. He's close to the line of scrimmage. And wherever Fields starts to release to get off his spot, Milano's closing. He's beelining for him right away. But the highlight here, we'll watch A.J. Epinesa here on the line first. Watch the quick get off. The snap has happened. He's already out of his stance and attacking. The ball just got snapped. The offensive linemen, these guys on the right side are a little bit, these guys aren't even out of their stance yet, right? And A.J. Epinesa is already crossing the line of scrimmage. It's one of his strengths. Watch him get upfield. Look at the lean. Gets in that lean and gets the extension. Look at that's a bad line that I drew. The form there, right? He's got the lean. He's got the leverage advantage. Gets underneath his man. And then watch the long arm. He's completely controlling him. Completely controlling his man. Collapses the pocket. Gets around the arc. And gets the sack. We'll watch it in real time. So you can just see how fast he closes him down. Leverage, long arm, bang. But now let's go to the other side. To Mr. Gregory Rousseau, who's highlighted on the right side. Watch Rousseau get into his man. Here, this is the piece right here. I'm going to highlight it and cover it. So Rousseau's left arm on the right arm of the offensive tackle, watch him get underneath that arm, literally lift it. Completely off platform, completely off balance for that tackle, and Rousseau just drives him and collapses him. If Epinesa doesn't get this sack, Rousseau gets it. And this is with a 3-man rush. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Who closes out these games? Again, this is second down. on one of the final drives for the Bears. You're looking for somebody to just end this game, even though the game looked pretty in hand. Epinesa and Rousseau start to give you that. That's a tremendous rep from both those guys, winning in different ways. One more time in slow-mo. Choose whoever you want to look at. We'll focus on Epinesa on the left side again one more time. Beautiful leverage, long arm, drives his man, gets around the arc. And then Rousseau on the other side. This is very hard. Right here, latches with that left arm. And then look at, again, even he's not a bendy guy, but look at the ankle flexion and his ability to get some lean. The torque that he creates and the leverage advantage he creates because of his size, that's not easy. And then because he's able to get underneath at that size, now he can lift and control and drive. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's all of those plays that I showed are for both the Bengals and for the Buffalo Bills. Those are going to come into play in this game. That's why I wanted to focus on them. They are related to the matchups we are going to see. And like we talked about earlier with Bruce in this episode, how do the Bills function against the Bengals wide receivers on the periphery? How do they choose to attack and defend Joe Burrow? Is it from a coverage piece on the back end? Is it with games and pressure packages up front? Is it a combination of the two? Can they win individually? Can they win one-on-one? How do they fit the run, given what the Bengals want to do? All of these pieces are all going to connect, and that was my focus for the tape here on the back end of this episode with Bruce. Also, a couple pieces I wanted to mention as well. There's a lot of specifics in terms of this game that are going to matter, especially situationally. I talk about it every week, third down and red zone pieces. The Bengals offense is fourth in red zone DVOA, second in the pass, 15th in the rush. The Bills defense is first in red zone DVOA, first in the pass and first in the run. So you've got the fourth red zone DVOA offense in the Bengals going up against the first red zone defense in DVOA in the Buffalo Bills. Who bends, who breaks, who wins that literal battle of strengths there. Also, the Bengals offense is second in third and fourth down DVOA. The Bills defense is 22nd in third and fourth down DVOA. And we've seen it going again back to that Lions game where they just seemed to not be able to get off the field on third downs, even when it was 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 14, just not being able to win at the catch point and giving up big conversions. That's a huge matchup piece as well. And then on the flip side, the Bengals defense is 9th in red zone DVOA. Bills offense is 21st in red zone DVOA, though they have been better recently, especially from an execution standpoint with the players, a decision-making standpoint from Josh Allen, and a schematic design standpoint from Ken Dorsey. And then also a third down piece as well. Bengals defense, they are 24th in DVOA on all third and fourth downs defensively. The Buffalo Bills offense is 4th in DVOA on all on third and fourth downs. So huge piece for them. You got a defense for the Bengals, 24th in DVOA on third and fourth down, and a Bills offense that's 4th in DVOA on third and fourth down. So you got some equal in terms of both being good, strength on strength in the red zone, Bengals offense, Bills defense, and then Bengals defense not so good on third down against the Bills defense who are good on third down, and the same thing for the Bengals offense on third down versus the Bills defense on third down. Situational football matters so much, so much, so much. When I say situational, I mean, your third downs, your red zones, pieces like that aren't just the regular game script, that those are those situational package pieces. It's oof. And yeah, as Pete says here, the Bills are bad in the red zone in September. Most of Josh's INTs have been thrown down there too. Exactly. That dings you. If you're turning the ball over in the red zone, obviously, let alone not executing in general. But if you settle for 3, if you turn the ball over, if you're just not executing, it's going to ding you. So those are huge pieces as well. Speaking of huge pieces, you folks know the sponsor. I mentioned it earlier, the best pizza in Buffalo, New York, hands down, One Pie Pizza. You can find the online menu in the episode show notes. Delicious cup and char pepperoni, fantastic cheese to sauce ratio, sweet sauce pie. They also make their own homemade blue cheese, and it is absolutely immaculate. Go get yourself some One Pie Pizza if you live in the Buffalo area. Again, the online menu can be found in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or listening on any one of the podcasting apps or platforms. So please and thank you. Go check out One Pie Pizza. I wouldn't have partnered with them if they weren't the best. I tremendously enjoy their product. And again, I mentioned it last week. Their Toys for Tots drive and initiative was absolutely tremendous. They had a huge uptick after we really started talking about it a bunch on the show. So I like to think in some small way, the folks who watch this show and listen to this potentially donated some Toys for Tots to One Pie and helped out the community and did some good this holiday. So thank you very much if you did donate and help out. I want to continue to shout that from the rooftops as much as humanly possible. Also, one last piece I want to mention. Betting is a huge piece in the sports market and sports world nowadays, and we've got some things and some benefits for you for the listeners and subscribers of Cover One. So take a look at this BetUS live read for the partnership.
Hey guys, Cover One is excited to announce our new partnership with BetUS. BetUS has a live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business, and an easy deposit and withdrawal process with the fastest payouts in the industry. Our loyal Cover One fans get a choice between two exclusive offers, either a 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,500 or a free $50 bet with no deposit required. Just use promo code COVER1 on the links provided in the show description below. BetUS, where the game begins.
Bet. Why not? It's fun. Well, it can be. Don't bet your life away, but do. Why not? Who cares? Money's no object. Just kidding. It's a huge object. I love what Rich says here. He says, like the video, y'all. Yes, please, 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 and thank you. I had a ton of engagement in this episode here with you folks. If you're still here, if you're watching live and you're still here or you're watching later, whatever have you, please, 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 and thank you. Drop a like on this video. It goes a sincerely long way towards helping myself and the entire team to track in front of more eyes. And yes, I hate saying it every week. I feel like a shill and a sellout asking for it, but it matters a lot. Please subscribe to Disguise Coverage, whether here on YouTube or on one of the podcasting apps or platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. While you're there, please rate and review. Ratings and reviews go a very long way as well. Drop a comment and a review as well if you would be so kind. Please also, if you'd be so kind, tell your family and friends and loved ones about this show and how awesome it is. Or if you thought this show was terrible and you want to ruin someone's day, tell them about the show because you never know. Some people like different things. I appreciate all you folks for joining me live on this episode and riding with me. Thank you very much to Mr. Bruce Nolan for joining me in the first part of this episode. For everybody living in Buffalo, I hope you are okay after the storm and the craziness. Just everything that happened for over the holiday weekend with the blizzard and the wind and just the chaos that happened. So I hope you and your family, I say this every week, but even more so now, I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well, staying safe. Be kind to one another, take care of one another. Things can go sideways so quickly and in such a hurry. So I wish you and your family and friends and loved ones all the best. Again, be kind to one another, take care of one another. Thank you very much to everyone who joined me live on this episode. If you didn't, that's cool too. Thank you very much for your post-live view, post-live listen, whatever have you. Big weekend in the NFL, huge weekend for the Bengals and Bills. For all the Bengals fans who rode with us here on this episode, even the contentious ones, thank you very much for being here and stoking some of the fires of conversation. To the trolls, not so much. Again, folks, on your way out, drop a like on this video, please, and thank you. Be kind to one another. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy New Year's Eve. Enjoy New Year's Day. Enjoy the Bills game. Enjoy some awesome college football starting tonight and going through the weekend. We got some playoff college football action happening this weekend. It's a big weekend for football and sports in general, but especially on the football side of things. I will see you folks next week for another episode of Disguise Coverage. And as always, Godspeed